What's up, Bucs fans, NFL fans, and gambling fans? Welcome to another edition of Pewter Picks and Props, this time for NFL Week 9. I'm your host, Matt Matera from PewterReport.com, and this show is presented by Underdog Fantasy. Make sure you use that promo code Pewter, that's P-E-W-T-E-R, and get a first deposit bonus with Underdog Fantasy, where you can play in the Pick'em games, which we will be talking about today, plus a lot of other great in-season tournaments, along with some other bonus prize money that you can get going, and of course, the rivals as well. Let's get right into it, though. I had another pretty good gambling week last week. Unfortunately, the Bucs did not win, but I was 2-0 on my Bucs picks. I was also 4-3 in my NFL picks, and even though I went 2-3 in my player props, overall, my record is fantastic. As you can see on the little ticker tape there, I am 30, 24-2 in the NFL, 11-3 when picking the Bucs games, and 18-9 with my Bucs player props, which of course is the Bucs players and then also some of the opponents that the Bucs are facing that week as well. So I'll start off with my player props this week. And just a reminder, you don't have to do every single pick that I make. You can put it all together and use it on Underdog Fantasy, or you can take one or two and do your own separate prop bet on whatever gambling website you like to use. This is all just a guideline, but as you can tell by my record, if you tail with me, you're going to end up winning some money. So Matty Diamonds is steering you in the right direction. Let's get it going for Bucs versus Texans, which is a very important game for the Buccaneers as they try to get off the schneid. They've lost 3 in a row, all since coming back from the bye. They're only a game out of the NFC South, so they want to keep pace with the Falcons and the Saints. Would be really important to come up with this one. So let's take a look at my picks. A little bit shorter than usual, but I have 3, including 2 from the Buccaneers and 1 with the Houston Texans. I'll start off with the quarterback position. I have Baker Mayfield lower than 240.5 passing yards. I think part of the reason why the Bucs have struggled so much since coming back from the bye is that they've gotten an underwhelming performance from Baker. He hasn't thrown for long down the field. He's missed a lot of throws, which has been important. Not always on the same page as some of the other guys like Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. So you don't always know what you're going to get from Baker Mayfield. And because of that, I wouldn't trust him throwing for more than the 240 yards that are allotted to him for this week. I also think the Bucs obviously are going to stay stubborn with running the football, and they're getting that much closer to a breakout game from not just Rachaad White, but the entire running game. So if they get that running game going, it'll help Baker, but maybe not necessarily stat-wise with throwing the football all over the field. So I'll take Baker with the lower on this one of 240.5 passing yards. Now, this kind of contradicts what I'm taking for Mike Evans, which is higher than 52.5 receiving yards. But the reason why I like this is the Bucs offense is extremely Mike Evans and Chris Godwin heavy. There's no secret about that. They dominate the stats for the Bucs in each game, and then slowly but surely someone else is pretty far behind. Now, ironically, last game, Rachaad White actually led the team in receiving yards, but Mike Evans, even with a down game, still ended up with a touchdown, still ended up getting a fair amount of receiving yards. So Mike hasn't had a truly monster game since, week 2 when he went for over 170 receiving yards against the Chicago Bears in that game. So because of that, Mike is very much due for a big-time game, and I think you might see it against the Houston Texans where they could take advantage of some of those matchups with Mike against some of the corners that Houston has. Mike is also a Texas guy coming from Galveston, Texas, so I think there's going to be a little bit of extra juice playing in his home state of Texas. You can't overlook those types of things. So I'm taking higher on the receiving yards for Mike Evans. I think this is one of his better games of the season that we will be able to watch so far. My last pick, I'm going higher than 6.5 rushing yards for rookie quarterback CJ Stroud. And Stroud's done a good job of avoiding a number of sacks this season by using his leg, but not necessarily rushing. I think his highest rushing stats is 20 yards on the season. So he's not looking to run up the field. But with all of that said, the Buccaneers hopefully will put Vita Vea right over the starting center because the Texans are down to their 4th string center, which is absolutely crazy to think. And hopefully they will blitz Devin White. They will blitz Levante David and just keep attacking the A-gap or just keep constantly putting pressure on CJ Stroud. So, and also hopefully Todd Bowles will play tight coverage with Carlton Davis and Jamel Dean. So with all that pass rush in his face, we've seen before how Joe Tryon-Shoyinka and a couple other guys out there will get to the quarterback and not be able to wrap up. I think CJ Stroud will have a couple of opportunities where he's not going to torch the Bucs on the ground game at all, but we're talking, what was it, over 6.5 rushing yards? Yeah, so 7 rushing yards. I can see one good scramble from CJ Stroud to hit the over on that. So my picks again, Baker Mayfield lower than 240.5 passing yards, Mike Evans higher than 52.5 receiving yards, and CJ Stroud higher than 6.5 rushing yards. Moving on to the pick for Bucs versus Texans and the over-under in that game. You can see it on the little tape right there, but I am going with the Bucs plus 2.5 and the under of 40. Also a Mike Evans anytime touchdown because he seems to be the only guy that can reach the end zone for the Bucs these days. Let's remember, the Bucs covered the spread against the Bills. They did not win the game, but they covered the spread, which was super important. I think, once again, it'll be a game where the Bucs defense absolutely dominates. I know they struggled against the Buffalo Bills, but they're not playing against Josh Allen. They're playing against a rookie quarterback. And typically, the Bucs defense, they do not allow more than 20 points per game. I think the Texans are going to struggle once again. They have Dameon Pierce out for this one, who's obviously important to their running game. Therefore, CJ Stroud's going to have to do a lot more. Can the Bucs get pressure on CJ Stroud? That's really the big question of the game for the defensive side of the football. But again, with Vita Vea coming back and blitzing those linebackers, it could be big for keeping the Texans off of the board. Also, hopefully, maybe we get some turnovers for the Buccaneers in this game. You saw the logo for today's show. That's D. Delaney. And he's getting an interception against the Texans in that one. So Scott Reynolds of PewterReport.com is trying to speak into existence either someone in the Bucs secondary getting an interception or maybe D. Delaney starting over Ryan Neal. But either way, the Bucs secondary needs to create some turnovers, even though the Texans don't turn it over at all. Neither do the Bucs, which is a good sign for Tampa Bay. But the defense will do enough to keep the score low. And on the offensive side of the things, I think this is finally time where the offense starts clicking. Are they going to hit their stride? No, absolutely not. But the run game's going to be a little bit better. Baker and Mike Evans are going to connect a little bit more. Chris Godwin, of course, is going to do his thing. I see the Bucs continuously moving the football and actually producing in the red zone, which has been a little too few and far between. But if they can get 2 touchdowns in this game and then rely on McLaughlin again to reach some field goals, to kick some through the uprights, I like the Bucs to win outright in this game. And obviously, if you're winning outright, you are covering the plus 2.5. And again, with the under, that under has hit in every single game, with the exception of one this season for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And the under has gone under 4 times in a row in their last 4 games for the Texans. So you'd be crazy to pick the over in any Bucs game so far. I think I had the Bucs winning this one 23-14, which, of course, would mean that the Bucs cover the 2.5-point spread and would keep the game under as well. So those are my picks for the Bucs game. Bucs plus 2.5, the under of 40, and the Mike Evans anytime touchdown, because Mike is the only guy that is scoring touchdowns for the Bucs this season. And again, my Bucs record 11-3 on the season. So I've been getting right with a lot of these throughout these first 9 weeks of the NFL season. Now, let's move on to my NFL picks. I'll show it on the screen there real quick, and then we'll go game by game, starting out with, first of all, great slate of games this week, starting out with the, I know the Steelers and Titans played on Thursday, but Dolphins, Chiefs in Germany. I like the Dolphins plus 2.5 against the Kansas City Chiefs. I know the Chiefs are coming off of a tough loss to the Denver Broncos, but so they're going to be a little more ready to go in this game, but you got to factor in all the travel going to Germany. That makes it a neutral site game. The Chiefs offense, I still think is going to struggle. I mean, you have Travis Kelce, but outside of that, this isn't your Chiefs offense from 2 seasons ago. Tyreek Hill plays for the other team now, obviously. And the Chiefs are not as explosive. They're still one of the best teams in the league, arguably the best team in the league. And it wouldn't even shock me if Kansas City won this. But as good as the Chiefs' defense is, the Dolphins still find a way to score one way or another. It doesn't really matter like how good you can be. They still found a way to score against the Eagles, even though things weren't going their way and they were playing in a hostile environment in Philadelphia a couple weeks ago. So even though I think it's going to be a close game, it may very much come down to the last possession between the Chiefs and the Dolphins. The Dolphins get 2.5 points, and I like those 2.5 points. Wouldn't shock me if the Dolphins won outright, but I'll take the points plus 2.5 and kind of hope the Chiefs win this game because it's better for some other teams that I watch out there. Moving on, second game I have, another awesome matchup. It's the Seahawks going to Baltimore to take on the Ravens. I am taking the Seahawks in this. I think they are really finding their footing in the league over the past couple of weeks. I know Baltimore has been fantastic. Lamar Jackson is unreal, but 5.5 points is a lot. Let's remember the Seahawks just traded for Leonard Williams, which is going to be big for the defensive line. DK Metcalf is doing his thing. Noah Fant as well. Geno Smith is doing quite okay over there. I love these jerseys. So many of the throwback jerseys have been great this year. I know the Bucs didn't play well in the Creamsicle, but the Seahawks one is great. I'll show the Eagles one soon enough. But give me another close game between two teams that have birds as their team nickname. So I'm taking the Seahawks plus 5.5 against a really great Ravens team. I think they do keep it close enough, though, where even if the Ravens win, they might win by 3. That means the Seahawks would cover. Coming up next, a team that has been in absolute shambles, but they could be on the up and up because they are cleaning house. That's right. I'm talking about the Las Vegas Raiders. They fired their head coach, Josh McDaniels. They fired their general manager. They benched Jimmy Garoppolo in favor for rookie quarterback Aiden O'Connell. So that man on the screen, Davante Adams, is going to be a very, very happy man. They play the Giants, who might be the only team that's in more shambles than the Raiders. I mean, they had a kicker play, even though he needed surgery after the game, and they knew it. Their quarterback situation is a monstrosity right now because Daniel Jones is like just getting healthy. They're down to Tommy DeVito at quarterback. I think the spirits are high for the Raiders. Everyone saw that video of them playing basketball in the locker room. Minus 2.5. The Raiders are my lock of the week. There's still a ton of talent on this Raiders team with Max Crosby on defense and obviously Jacobs at running back and Davante Adams. Give Davante Adams the football. He does good things when you do so. So I'll take the Raiders minus 2.5 in that game. Next up, I told you I was going to bring up the Eagles Kelly Green uniform. They're playing the Cowboys this week. It's in Philadelphia, so the Eagles are the home team. And I'm taking the under in this game. We all know how great the Eagles defense is. The Bucs obviously played them a couple of weeks ago. I think Dallas struggles a little bit more on the road, especially in a hostile environment like Philadelphia. And when the Eagles have the football, yes, they can take the deep shot down the field with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, but they also know how to have a long, sustaining drive. The brotherly shove, the tush push comes a lot on fourth down, so that's killing more clock. I think it's going to be a really good game. I think there's going to be a lot of fireworks, but I also believe that the under, due to the slow, methodical drives of the Eagles, will be in play at under 46. And my last pick of the week will be an emotional one. It's Bengals versus Bills. The Bengals are the home team in this one. And I really like the over of 48.5. It's going to be an emotional game because it's obviously, this was the matchup last season when Damar Hamlin obviously had his very, very terrifying medical incident. But thank goodness they were able to revive him and he's good to go now. But that will obviously be on a lot of people's minds. Outside of that, the Bengals offense just seems to be fully in full go, full motion. Joe Burrow, fully healthy. I think they can put up points against any defense in the league. And we know Josh Allen can sling that rock. He's going to run it as well, too. James Cook has been up and down. Leonard Fournette's on this team now. But I think this game's going to be an absolute track meet. Josh Allen has shown that he can compete in these type of shootouts and track meets type of stuff. I think the Bengals get out to a hot lead. Then the Bills try coming back, and the Bills can score very quickly. Both these teams can score quickly. I'm very excited to watch this. I believe it's the Sunday night game. So everyone will be watching. Give me the Bengals and Bills over of 48.5. So just to recap one more time, I got Dolphins plus 2.5 against the Kansas City Chiefs in Germany. Seahawks plus 5.5 against the Ravens. I believe that's in Baltimore. The Raiders are home. Give me minus 2.5 against the Giants. And then the under 46 in Cowboys Eagles and the over of 48.5 in Bills Bengals. My Bucs picks, starting with the player props. Bit of a shorter one, but that's okay. Baker Mayfield lower than 240.5 passing yards. Mike Evans higher than 52.5 receiving yards. And CJ Stroud higher than 6.5 rushing yards. And last but not least, I got Bucs plus 2.5. The under of 40 and Mike Evans and any time touchdown. Those are my picks for this week. Once again, I'm Matt Matera from PewterReport.com. You can follow me on my social media on Twitter or X. X gonna give it to you at Matty4_Matera, Matera. If you want to follow us at PewterReport.com, we are at Pewter Report on Facebook, Threads, Instagram, and X. And of course, our YouTube channel where the show is produced is at Pewter Report TV. Please like and subscribe to this show. Hit that thumbs up. Helps grow this show, helps grow our audience over at Pewter Report and Pewter Report TV, our YouTube channel. But that'll do it for me. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Good luck. Let's win some more money again